Mr. Oberoi, our grateful thanks. You have been an inspiration to generations of hoteliers.
And I will always remember what you told me, because you said that the hotel business is like showbiz. You have to come up with a new act every time.
Anything you touched turned into gold. You had the Midas touch.
And whenever I think of India, I can't think of anybody else but you and Oberoi and what you accomplished.
The entire Oberoi family and brand really stands for is absolutely extraordinary. And
you really helped elevate the luxury factor of India, its authenticity, its luxury, its feeling to the world. And you have done so much for your country that so many of us love.
To think that a man who had created the company that Oberoi Hotels became such a successful hotelier.
So I've always said this, Mr. Oberoi is a living legend.
So whatever I am today, I think in many ways I am because of what the Oberoi has taught me all my life. And that's been instilled in my blood and my DNA. And I will take it forward for all my life.
My first impression was, and of course I call him Mr. Oberoi because I was sort of honored to be there. I mean, he was hospitable, he was generous, he was somewhat imposing, but very sharp and obviously a smart businessman, but who also understood the human condition.
So I asked him once, I said, Mr. Oberoi, in our batch of 16 people, we couldn't help noticing that, nearly a dozen of us have a common thread of going to public schools, and then so he said that I can train anyone to be a hotelier, but I can't train someone to be a gentleman. And I thought that was a tremendous insight, that he wanted gentlemen hoteliers, and that's where Oberoi Hotels stood apart from others.
I mean, over the years, be that in my previous employment, the Dorches, and so I had the privilege to work with chefs and captains, and really trained and coming out of that Oberoi school of dedication and obviously out of the academy. And I think it's really something extraordinary what has been done there over the years. And I wish as an industry we could do and repeat this a little bit further across the globe, to be as dedicated to the development of the next generation as the Oberoi family has been in India.
The way he is in his lifestyle, the way he dresses up, the way he operates, the way he conducts meetings. I think he is a gentleman, a thorough gentleman, has extremely good taste in luxury and life. He's very used to kind of only dealing with the best.
And I think he just lives, breathes and dreams about hotels all the time. So when you're working with him, you really need to be on top of your game, because for somebody who's doing this 24 hours a day, that has been doing it for so many years, so you really need to be on top of your game.
See, Mr. Oberoi is a hotelier's hotelier. He's really the oracle.
I think he has been actually legendary. His stories are world renowned, and they are actually true of what he has done for the industry.
So Oberoi built with a mission, Rai Bahadur, and I think Vicky built with a passion.
He's very eager to learn, so that is his biggest superpower, I believe. Even at that age, there's always a great conversation with him, and there's always to learn so much. And because he's seen so much of the world, there is so much to learn, because he's always got a very interesting story to tell.
Vicky's passion is something that is really difficult to understand and difficult to match.
And his attention to detail is legendary.
Some of the things they say about my attention to detail is exaggerated. The story about eggs.
So that's not true?
Well, if I go to a hotel and I order eggs and the color of the yolk is not right, I'll tell the manager that this is not right. You can't make an omelette out of yolk.
There are so many stories about how he wants the chicken to be cut into 4 pieces. He wants French fries to be blanched before they're fried. The toast is best made from bread which is 1 day old. So these are some of his pet peeves that we were raised on.
Rai Bahadur told his son, Vicky, if you want something really bad, you should never let money come in the way of your getting it. And I think Bicky followed that to the T, because he also never looked at the cost and kind of overdid his father really in that business.
I just opened the Trident in Gurgaon. I was a young general manager, and we were walking back towards the porch, and it was twilight, and he just stopped. He just inspected the hotel after the opening, and he just stopped, and he said, "Kapil, let me give you a piece of advice." I said, "Yes, sir." And he says,
Don't cut costs, cut waste. We all are wasteful one way or the other. And if you say cut costs, then your customer will suffer, or your people working in the hotel would suffer.
But he's absolutely right. I mean, if you want the best for your guest, then you've got to do it right. And there's only one way of doing it right. So that's something which Mr. Oberoi always emphasized on.
With Bicky, you know, the carpets had to be hand knotted, the curtain rails had to be solid brass, the silver had to be sterling silver. You know, even in the coffee shops with Oberoi, they had to have the full service, you know, no paper service, the full linen service, you know, the full Rosenthal, you know, crockery. So they never, you know, cringed on that. And you have to do it that way.
So, service is everything. That is something which Mr. Oberoi, you'll hear him say it a number of times a day.
5-star was no longer an adequate label, right? It had to be, I mean, you had to create a new label, which was super deluxe.
So I think there is a passion which clearly gets indoctrinated into you, and there is a sense of responsibility towards excellence. You know, it is not something to be trifled with.
I think it came from that. And also because he traveled so much, he had a very good idea of how the global world of luxury was. And India was a land of Maharajas. And so he decided to kind of recreate palaces instead of taking over palaces and redoing them. So he wanted to recreate palaces, recreate that level of hospitality that every guest would experience as like a royal person who's walking the grounds.
You can do anything, but you must do it well. And it's not about doing it well, but do it the best possible way that you can do it, because every act of yours is a signature. You know, these are simple things, but Mr. Oberoi teaches it to you through personal example. So it stays with you.
This is something that I kind of have always felt about Bicky, is that he was not the heir apparent. Tiki was the heir apparent, and he really was his father's favorite. And I think it's like the Avis and Hertz, that, you know, we are number 2, so we try harder. And I think that is why Bicky kind of went so all out to prove that he could do it.
The bedrock of excellence is service. And Mr. Oberoi has always emphasized on service. Now, service means, you know, you've got to, it starts with warmth, and then it is promptness, and then it goes on to courtesy, and then personalized, and finally it should be anticipatory.
I learn something every day. And I tell my son, unless you learn something, at least one new thing every day, you're not doing your job.
There were things that you could positively learn from, and there were things that I did not agree with too. I've been very vocal about things that I would not agree with him on. But there was always a discussion forum. There was always somebody to look up to, talk to.
He has a very strong opinion of how he wants things. And he's very vocal about it. If he doesn't like it, he'll tell you on your face. Or if you can convince him and tell him what you need and why do you need with a proper reasoning, he'll back you through and through.
And, you know, and I think, and I would tell him, I said, but you know, Bicky, you know, you are such a control freak, if I may say so, that everybody else probably gives up. He says, well, let them give up because they'll get it wrong anyway.
You know, it's one thing going into retirement, but in the case of Bicky, his legacy is going to live on forever. You know, he's just a very, very special man.
And me, as alumni of Oberoi School of Hotel Management and now OCLD, can vouch with thousands others who have gone through that process. We are grateful that we had chance to be in your company, under your umbrella, and serve the great company.